The Kiwi Ears Aether. Let's talk about it. The Kiwi Ears Aether is a large diameter planar driver that costs around $170. Now, this was sent to me at the same time as the Kiwi Ears Eroso, and that review is already been posted. So we'll be making some comparisons with that here. Now, this is a fantastic IM that is already getting a lot of hype. I'm going to have to tell you that this is going to be a pretty hyped video. This is a good set, and I'm going to have to try to explain maybe why this IEM isn't for you, some of its strengths and some of its weaknesses. But before that, let's get into the build quality of this IEM, and then we'll go from there. The tip selection is not super great. It's not super exciting. It's the same as the Eroso, but it does have 3 selection of tips. So that's a positive in my personal opinion. The case isn't super exciting. It's the typical Kiwi Ears case. I like it. It feels nice. If you want to use a case, this is a good one, although maybe a little bit small. The cable has been upgraded from the Eroso. This is a nice cable with a nice chin slider. It feels great in hand. Non-branded Y-split. It feels spongy and soft and just delicate. I like the feeling of this on my hand. It terminates in a 3.5. Solid cable, but no additional options. Personally, I like the shell of the Aether. I feel it's very comfortable. I don't have any problems with it. It isolates well, but you'll notice it has a great deal of height. There's a lot of venting holes on this, and it's overall just a nice shelled IM. I like the faceplate. I think it's beautiful. Reminds me a little bit of the Soft Ears Volume S with that kind of ring around it. My wife says it reminds her of a bowling ball, but it has nice nozzle that holds ear tips well. It is thick, it is a little bit wide, but it helps add to the epicness and boominess of this IEM. This sounds fantastic in ear for me. I think this is my favorite planar. It reminds me a lot of other IEMs that we're going to share soon, but it has a nice overall timbre, a crispiness and air that doesn't exist at this price very often. We'll talk about our comparisons soon, and I want to jump into them, but it's hard to explain how I feel about this IEM. It's very good, it's very clear and resolute with great micro details and great technicalities, if that's the word you want to call it. It has a good FR, it feels great in ear, and I feel like the size of it helps the IEM sound even more grand and big. Let's look at some comparisons and some graphs, and then we'll go from there. All right, let's look at the frequency response of this. You'll notice it has a nice amount of bass, good amount of upper mids. It does have a little bit of mid treble region, which is very typical of other planar IEMs. I mean, if you want to talk a graph mirror, it looks a lot like the NiceHack F1 Pro, but I do feel there's a little bit to this. Like, you'll notice that even these have a little bit different frequency response, little bit different treble response in the upper air, and like it's just ever so slightly different. To me, I would recommend the Kiwi Ears Aether, but with anything you have to be careful. It sounds fantastic so far. The comparison to the Eroso we've been waiting for. The Eroso is better tuned, but the Aether has better technicalities, better detail, better finite tuning. It feels like the planar driver is really getting micro nuances better, like whispers and smaller detail. It's not to say that the Eroso is better, but the Eroso does have this spike right here, and a few other spikes in its kind of upper mid treble and region that could kind of prevent it from actually doing as well as you might like. I think it really depends on what you want and what you value. But I do feel like from a sonic raw perspective, I do feel that the Aether is the better set. But for bass heads, I feel like there's an organic richness to the Eroso that doesn't feel like it's there in the Aether. The Aether isn't because of its brightness and its added brightness. What that does is it kind of makes the bass sound less impactful. And so while it measures well on bass, it doesn't sound like it has that same level of bass due to that added brightness. If we look at other sets, this is the Melody. I believe it's a planar from Kiwi ears as well. What do you notice? A ton more warmth in the lower mid-range, a ton more of this mid-treble region, which for me, I thought the Melody was fun, but not tonally correct, whereas the Aether is tonally correct and a great overall set, all things said. Now we compare this to another IM that's more expensive than the KE4. I personally like the Aether more, but planars have a unique timbre and tonality that if you are prone to sensitivities at like 6K or maybe other regions that might not be great. I do feel that like part of the problem with the KE4 is that it doesn't have enough of that presence region. It also could use a little bit more bass. What I will say is that the Aether fixes both of those. And so in that regards, I think the Aether is better than the KE4, but it's, you know, a lot of it depends on a lot of other factors as well for you. Let's talk other planars. Now, if you look at that, at the S08, this is kind of the dark horse of the IEM land, but its problem is that it has really good technicalities. It costs $80. I mean, if you already have something like the S08, is it that big of an upgrade? I think it is an upgrade, but it's one of those things where like you really have to find out what will work for you and your budget. I think the Aether does a lot of things very, very well, and in that regards, it becomes a special, well-rounded, great set that I think I would recommend more than the S08, as the S08 is a little bit dark. Now we go in the other direction. We have something like the S12 Pro, or you know, it feels like it was a little bit too bright for me. I find myself sensitive right around that 6K region, so when that's dialed back, that helps. I mean, it really depends on what you're looking for, but the Aether just kind of splits the difference between them and is a better set to me than the S12 Pro. The S12 2024 edition, again, a little bit more of that 6 to 5K energy, all around a fun set, but it just didn't mesh well. It didn't have the chops. To me, the Aether refines it takes a lot of the good things about planars and kind of brings it to that next level, and I think it's really quite impressive for its price point. Other things to look at is the MP145. Now the MP145 is a large shell. The Aether is not as big, but it is a large shell, and I want you guys to kind of be careful with that if you are a small ear kind of a person. Look at the comparison we did with the Alpha Magic 1 and compare it to other IAMs we've compared to try to figure out whether that might work for you. Now, there is a case to be made for the MP145 being a fantastic set, especially if these regions aren't sensitive to you. It is a fantastic set, and it could be an absolute banger, but I do feel just like the timbre, the tonality, the micro details in the Aether are really quite exceptional, and to me it is worth the slight upgrade over his MP145. But also the MP145 was even large for me and kind of has a little bit of a wonky shell shape that I'm not a huge fan of. Alright, let's rank this guy up. The Aether is a very nice set. It's not a bass head set, so I'm giving it an 8 for bass and an 8 for note weight, but it does everything else really quite well. And then again, its texture and timbre and tonality may not be right for everybody, but it is a nice set. Something like if you compare to the Chopin, like the Chopin, they're right about at that same level, but the Chopin has a little bit better bass, a little bit less sparkly air. The Aether does have better technicalities, but it doesn't, again, it's not a bass heavy set. Like if you are a bass head or you are looking for a bass set, please avoid the Aether. It is not going to work for you. But if you're someone that wants a mid-focus kind of tuning, you want micro details, if you've listened to planars in the past, it is going to be for you. And it's an overall really strong score. I feel it's a benchmark kind of worthy sort of a set for me. I feel it's a fantastic set and does so much very, very well. Benchmarks are not an easy thing to say, but I think this IM in its own right represents a great amount of value due to its unique shell size and an amazing driver that it has going on for it. Is it always going to be something that you have to go out and buy? I don't think so. I think there are cheaper options for you. But to me, this does represent a great value with its micro details and upper air extension that I feel is just done really, really well. I like the sound of this IM, and I really feel that it's easy to recommend. It's an amazing IM. It looks beautiful. I like this shell, and I feel like it is an appropriate budget option for people that want a unique sound with a planar driver, and I think it could work for a lot of people. Thanks for watching my review. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Oh, you're expecting a teaser for our next video. Well, we don't have that kind of money. What are you expecting? One of those store reviewers to show up in a saucy little leather number? Go. Oh, I can tell you one thing. We are going to have a collab video. We have no idea what it's going to be. Probably Kryn, maybe Chris, or Joyce. Don't deny it. She's got range. Go. Get out of here. Go.
Go!
Go.
Go on with you!